short break is going to allow us to update some of the slide content and some of the physical boards based on the input that you provided in the first half. And in the second half, we're going to talk about what matters most to the community. These are the design drivers that I was referencing earlier. And finally, at the end, we're going to look at some images to talk about the look and feel. It's just as productive to point out things that you like as it is things that you don't like. Things that you see in an image. We might be talking about, what the material of the outside of the building is, and you might see a window that you're just like, I don't ever want to see a window like that in the recreation center. That's good feedback too. So just because we're talking about a particular thing, when we get to that section, we're still open to any and all feedback. The images that we show, the prompts that we show, they're just conversation starters. They're just to keep the conversation going and have a little bit of a structured conversation about what it is we want to do, and for us to make sure that we cover all the bases well enough that when we go back to work on this concept design, we have all of your ideas in mind. Does that make sense as kind of an introduction?
Yes.
All right. Well, with that, Ms. Rebecca is going to let me introduce our team quickly here. You all met Brian Tanner at our last meeting. I'm Garrett Wumble. Rebecca Robinson is our project manager. And we have Colin and Julieta also joining us. We're new to the team since last meeting, familiar to all of us. And we're part of an overall team that will be working on this project all the way through construction. So with that, Rebecca is going to get us started with our first series of questions here. So I just wanted to stress what Rebecca said. That is not a requirement. If you do not want to participate in the online version, there will be all the physical stuff for you to respond to here in person with us. So if you would like to use your phone, this is how you do it. You open the camera app, you point it at that thing until it pops up with a link. You click that link, it'll take you right to it. And then the rest of it, it'll guide you through, and we'll guide you through. But if you don't want to use your phone, that is not a requirement.
Right. So if you don't want to use your phone, as we get through these questions, go ahead and yell out your answers. Vanna over here will write them down, and we'll just keep a record that way. We'll give 2 more seconds for everyone who wants the QR code and get it.
You got it.
Is everyone good? Ready? All right. Let's move on to our first question. Okay. So how does the current recreation center represent the community? So how does this building currently represent you? That's what I'm looking for here. And there is no wrong answers. So what first comes to mind? And you can either type it in on the app or you can just say it out loud.
A meeting space for university.
Go ahead.
Meeting space for community intergenerationally come together in fellowship.
Anything else? Yes? Senior activities are really important. Oh, bad. Yes.
Also, some people come up and get computer classes.
Computer classes, access to technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be huge.
Community gathering places. Anybody else not digital wants to say something?
Youth safe space.
Use safe space.
Youth.
Use safe space.
Youth safe space.
Talk to me about legacy.
It's the Reverend James Orange Park. It's an individual that,
That legacy.
yeah, like February 18th, 1965, Selma, Alabama. He's helping Amelia Isidore, Plattsburgh, and Robinson register people to vote. And he's locked up in a Marion jail. The community believes that they're gonna like murder him because there's a lot of like segregation, unlawful abuse of power, things to that effect. And they organized a march to get the Reverend Orange out. That march is intercepted by Alabama state troopers, law enforcement. who attack women, kids, chase Miss Jackson, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Jackson into a diner. Jimmy Lee Jackson, community contributor, goes in, pulls the cop off him, hits twice. He bleeds out 8 days later. Prompts is a woman by the name of Marion Foster, Brown Chapel handmaid. Say what we ought to do is jump Jimmy's body on George Wallace's desk. And so that prompted the march over the March 7th Bridge in 1965, we call Bloody Sunday. For me, the Boynton, right, like Reverend Orange was loyal to my grandfather. This park, when it was renamed, last place I stood with my father, John Lewis, a whole host of folks. So it represents something to our community. It represents legacy. It represents community revitalization. It represents prioritizing children and the least of these and coming together. So it's important that when we talk about legacy, we don't do it from a chandelier, but that we're really bringing that forward to just grab something for Yolanda Denise King. A dream that isn't felt and dramatized can't be, or a dream that isn't dramatized can't be felt in the hearts of children. So we have to take this legacy and somehow be used by God to instill it in the minds of our children so they understand that below the red line over here we care. So that's our legacy, the legacy of the Reverend James Orange Park we care.
Legacy is not the biggest word on this call. This is what I love about
KJ, Samuel Boynton's grandson.
what's important becomes very large, very important to us.
Did we miss the end of something?
No, I didn't want to, when you talk about the Reverend James Orange,
Perfect, yeah.
church over there, a community contributor, you know, when we look at, and I'm not taking a shot at anyone, but just kind of giving this for the room, we look at clergy, and it's more than a talk. It's a speech on Sunday, but it's in with Reverend Orange and Howard Creasy and all the goats represented was being in the community Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And that's what the community of the Reverend James Orange Park represents. We have the #1 football team in the nation right there, the Yellow Jackets. It wasn't raining, you probably see them out there. And we have all the components. But if we do anything pertaining to legacy, it's got to be a community center where the doors are open, where our children feel welcome, and where we circle back around to some things that we did as a county and as a city, where we listen to them. 2011, we had a listening campaign. And so we say legacy from the Reverend James Orange Park with all the redistribution funds and everybody talking about what's going on, but we have a suicide epidemic. We have a housing shortage. We have a food insecurity issue. It needs to be the place of the listening part. The place where before we knock something down and build it up, I know we did that. I know that's good. We did it in the Reverend, what was that? The Selena Butler Park. We need to, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm done. No, I'm done. He asked me for more, and I could go on and on about our community and the need forever. I apologize. Love y'all.
Also, our voting polling area prior to all the confusions of, rebuild and so forth like that. We're close to the MARTA station, so we have a prominent area in the community. And in fact, we're also within Oakland City, which is also historic.
Yeah, so it can be amplified. Voting and stuff. And the history of that. Talk again, Mama.
Okay, well, if we see a meeting place, also we were voting here prior to the confusion of it being closed down. And we also are in a historical part of the city, you know.
Yes, ma'am.
Oakland City, and it is historic.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, let's move on to the next question. Who uses the recreation center right now? So I know we have our primetime seniors.
And what we're trying to get is, we understand like the community uses the recreation center, but and the primetime seniors and some specific groups that are represented, but what are all the user groups, you know, and help us understand all the different users.
I came here to advocate for this this group. We have the best independent football team, the CBW Yellow Jackets. They, and it's just politics maybe, have been trying to get inside of this space. It was closed, it opened back up for that tech space. So afterwards, like we have practice on in the evenings for the girls and the single moms to be able to use the restroom, to be able to provide food for the kids, a safe space. Also, the tech, the computer lab. There's restrictions on where the kids can get accessibility to as far as computer time in the library. And it's really a miscommunication issue with Parks and Rec on those that are in the trenches being able to get to the decision makers to open the door so that the kids of the community can get accessibility. There's an overwhelming need. They're just trying to find out how to get in.
On the tech side.
Yeah, the tech side, and even the safe space. Like it's raining, the kids would have used it, or the team would like to use it. There's groups of moms and cheerleaders that just want to use the space because it's the only free space supposedly available over here.
You asked us who used the rec center. Now, the children used to use the rec center, but the parents will not bring them down here. We have no resources, nothing to offer. Now, when he said about the computer lab, anybody can come to the computer lab after computer classes. Anybody can walk through that door and say, I would like to use the computer. They are welcome to use it. But when it comes to the children, we don't have anything to offer them. We have nothing but this lab and that computer lab. Nothing else. But I feel like once we get things in here, they will come back.
And you do phenomenal. I'm never taking anything away from you. We love you and all that you do for us. Thank you.
I mean, while we're there, what are the things that would bring the kids back into the recreation center?
Gymnastic classes, workout, running around, I don't know, things like
Program
that.
stuff.
So the biggest thing that folks are attempting to implement inside of the region, or really in the Carver cluster community, right? That's our Carver elementary schools, Finn, Sylvan, is an initiative that we rolled out county-wide called Success for Teens. It's a book, it's got 8 chapters, 4 principles per chapter, 32 in all. They were attempting to use the 8 weeks of break to run through 1 point per week and stream it out from a place, but there was no place to get to. Our kids really want self-efficacy. They want the belief that someone cares. When we got them together as Fulton County Big Brother Anonymous, first and third Saturday, a lot of the boys from the region, we put them through a rites of passage the last 6 months where we graduated them in custom cut suits at the historic Auburn Avenue Library. During Mental Health Month, we asked them, because the biggest unaliver from 13 to 33 is not teen violence, it's teen suicide. So we asked them, with the goals, dreams, and aspirations you share with us, why are you killing yourselves? They said, because nobody cares. So really it needs to be, the first thing we need to provide them, exactly what she said, what they want. Just a safe space, not so much instruction, but a safe space, and start there. That's what they want.
Hey, I have a quick question, and this might be geared towards Judy Walker. I used to be on the Oakland City Neighborhood Association, and we used to meet here every month. We don't do that anymore. We now meet at the church on Avon. Why is that? So I mean, we should bring back the Oakland City Neighborhood Association meeting once a month.
Great point.
Where we meet with police, the neighborhood committees, community, our OCCO, which is Oakland City Community Organization. It's our neighborhood association. Why don't we use this building anymore? And why are we meeting in a church?
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Over the years as a resident in Oakland City, 45 years. So, my name is Judy Walker. I chair the Friends of Reverend James Orange Park, for anyone who may not know me. I want to say to you, where have you been for the last 3 years? But I'm glad.
Yes,
you're here
ma'am.
today.
Thank you, ma'am. The Holy Ghost. Thank you, ma'am.
With Oakland City, the rec center has taken on many different flavors over the years.
Yeah.
There have been times we've met here, or when we were meeting on Saturday, it's very difficult to get the rec center to have someone from the city work on Saturdays. For many years, we met at the fire station. And then when we voted to move the meetings back to the weekdays, because it's easier to get more participation from the city and the various departments of the city during the week, we moved it back to the rec center. And during the pandemic, after the current, it changed, okay? So, but we do want to, and I can say over the years, we've had many events as a neighborhood. We've had back to school events here, we've had holiday events here with other community organizers. We've had meetings around the redevelopment of Fort McPherson here. We've had meetings of rezoning the historic district, rezoning Lee Street. So this has been the anchor that it's supposed to be, that it should be over the last few years, and we're still fighting, to me as a community, we're still fighting getting over the pandemic.
Yeah.
With everything being online and not in person. And that has caused a huge digital divide. And one of the goals that the community has, we did a visioning session, and there's some residents here who were here about 15 years ago now. When we did a visioning session with what we wanted to see in this park. And the majority of the things that we talked about having then are still the same ones that are on the table today. And we need, as we have, the community has significantly changed with houses that used to go for maybe 125,000 and now 450,000.
Yes, ma'am.
For a 1,400 square foot frame house. And that's mainly because of the development that has happened around us with the Beltline. But part of our thing is we need to continue to allow residents who've lived in the community, who've grown up in the community, to be able to stay in the community. We need to provide a center, a rec center that addresses the needs, because there's no rec center anywhere within 30310.
Yes, ma'am.
So many of you who've been coming, my advocacy is we need a rec center of regional impact. Not to just service the residents within the Oakland City of MPUS. You have Sylvan Hills, you have West End. There's no rec center that fully addresses all the needs for live, work, play, from the youth to the seniors. And then you have, when I met with the mayor's staff, they said, well, we have programs for the youth and we have programs for the seniors. What happened to the middle-aged population? That's the bigger population, from 25 to 65, okay? So, like Paige said, having yoga classes, exercise classes, pickleball, programs for youth, training programs, as I have said at our last meeting, we want the contractors to engage in the young men and women in the community, to have opportunities to train. Georgia Stand Up, that's been a great partner to us, has a trade-up program where they train young adults in various industries, creating those, allowing those type of partnerships to continue to grow and address many of the concerns in the community. So those are all the things when we look at a multi-purpose. And from this community, we have, many of you, some may know, Anthony Edwards, one of the big basketball stars. He started playing basketball right here in this park. It's where he threw his first basketball over there with his brother. And Adidas has come and they did something small, but we need a bigger ask. Some of your rap stars came from this community. So it's how can we make this community service the needs of everyone?
One thing I thought that hit me really hard from that was you called this an anchor. I think it's a really great statement for a building, it's an anchor to the community. So that's gonna stick with me. Okay, let's see, what's our, now, you gave us such great feedback, and it actually covered a So we're gonna see through these. I think we've already kind of, well, let's go back to more. There you go, the first question. Thank you. We're gonna go real quick, just covering anything we haven't already covered about how this building works during the day. So during the work.
And I think that to round out that question, it's about how is it differently used in the day versus the evening versus the weekend. We can cover all of that here if it makes sense. We're trying to understand how it changes throughout the day and throughout the week so that it can accommodate as many of the functions as possible.
On the weekend, we usually do rentals, so the building can rent it out on weekends, yes.
Birthday parties.
It could be birthday party, wedding, whatever they want to rent it for. Well, we have restrictions on something like alcohol, they have permits. They have children birthday parties, older people birthday on the weekends, and some repasses. We have done repasses. Through the week, it's basically seniors, no children.
During the day at least.
Right, no children. Parents don't bring them back down here. I don't know. Well, like I said, what do we have to offer them? When they come in, all they see is this room, these chairs, table, computer lab. Right now, we're here from 9:30 to 6:30. But in the summertime, it changes. From 8 to 6. They want other activities. They want equipment that they can come and work out with. Not necessarily me giving them a workout. They want to be able to come in and have a workout station. We do chair exercise, jewelry making, quilting, crocheting, and we do line dancing, and we also take field trips. So, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we might have anywhere from 20 to 30 people in here. Computer classes, we might have anywhere from 10 to 15 people in here. So, we do have big programs, but they want to get more.
We have you. So when you, ma'am, before you say what we have to offer them, one of the things that permeates the community is your heart. So if we can somehow bridge a way where some of our younger moms and teenage moms can kind of get connected to y'all intergenerationally and feel that love, then the biggest thing that we have is what we're all talking about is community and the positive wisdom that you three have and just that encouragement and instruction. So everything else we'll get if we can just, get connected to y'all. That's the biggest thing. So never think you have nothing to give them because time after time after time, you don't realize that there's a little story of somebody that you help. So we get access to you and we appreciate it. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, and I understand. I apologize if I miscommunicated that. I wasn't saying that you don't. I was saying that's the one thing that you give without having the money or any of that that is more powerful in their lives. And if we could prioritize kind of more of that, it'd be great. I want to try and help. Yes, ma'am.
things, activities for them to do. Paying people, it's a collaborative effort. If we have a state-of-the-art rec center, we can lease it out. We can create a nonprofit within the rec center, but we can lease it out when people want to have events here. And we can use that money received from that to have other programs for our community. And that's being done at other parks throughout Atlanta. But it's having that collaborative initiative of working together. Many of the people who are moving in are saying, hey, how can I help make a difference? You know, many of the federal programs are gone. Forget that for now. But as I can look in the mirror and I can be that change I want to see. And that's what I see.
Yeah, I was gonna add just, I work at this center and I also work at CA Scott, and both of them, when I first started, was just mainly seniors. We had a few kids here, but they were competing with the after-school program. So my suggestion, just in the future, is having seniors, maybe during the day, but having a teen program in the evening, because I think the teens, there's a lot of teens in this area. And there's also resources and different organizations that want to come in and do different things in this recreation center. So for the most part, it's only been seniors since I've been here, but I'm just saying if we had an area that would be maybe separate from the seniors, like seniors maybe on one floor, maybe teens on another floor.
Wow.
I think that would be ideal. There's a lot of youth in this area. And even with the other center that I worked at, it hadn't had youth in maybe 20 years. And we started an after-school program, but because it was a need. So they didn't have an after-school program in the school next door. And so we started an after-school program. So we really can do whatever we want. It's just a matter of are we gonna have the participation? So we're competing with after-school at the school up here. You know, so and it just meant if we had to do transportation to a school that didn't have after school, that would be something that we would look at. But definitely, I know we can get teams in the building.
You can follow up later, that we put you on the spot, but what are some of the other organizations that you think would make use of the recreation center if they were allowed to? Like, who are
Yeah,
more
the
of
organization.
Learning from you.
Chris 180? Chris 180. I know they always ask about it. We can't hear you.
Chris 180, we care, what's the group?
Every soul is already saved.
Every soul. Every soul deserves to be saved.
What was the name of it? I'm sorry.
Every soul deserves to be saved. We care, Chris 180. It's a lot of different programs that's waiting for the little bit.
It keeps reverberating when I get too close over there, so I'm sorry. Let's try it now in the speaker's booth. There we go.
Hey, hi. So there are a lot of nonprofits, small nonprofits that's in the area that will love to athlete. Hey, that's better. There are a lot of nonprofits in the area that would like to use the rec center. I have a mentor program that serves this area. I often rent out this same rec center. I work with other nonprofits like We Care. I also work for Chris 180, Mad Violence, Starseed. Everybody is awaiting this new bill so that we can utilize the building. Myself, personally, I show up to every meeting for that reason alone.
Okay, thank you.
Bravo.
Thanks for your service.
Okay, I think we're going to move on to talk about what we value most in the break. Sorry, go ahead.
You're a sweetheart.
GED. Hello? He's got it turned down because I talk so loud. But I got GED class.
about things with our rec center. And with naming it after, when we decided to rename it after Reverend James Orange, who was a civil rights leader, who lived in the MPUS community. So one of the things with that is let's make it about, let's acknowledge the residents, many of the unsung heroes of Atlanta. There are many people who helped back up some of the well-known leaders, but it was many of the community leaders that go unnamed. You know, one of the first, black doctor that lived on MLK started the first hospital. You know, let's make it part, do some civil rights acknowledgments. And civil rights does not have to be only the African Americans who lived in the community. There were some Caucasians or other people that may also have made a difference in helping us to have the city that we have today. So let's acknowledge many of our community leaders throughout the park. A few years ago, I submitted a program to Park Pride for a walking trail, and along that walking trail, we were going to have history of many of the community leaders that have helped make this community what it is today. So those are some of the things, and as we are one of the few rec centers in the city of Atlanta that's within walking distance to Reverend James Oakland City Martin Station. And I've also talked to a few people at the Martin Station about renaming that Martin Station after Reverend James Orange and connecting the park to the Martin Station. That's what I'm taking right now. That's just planting a seed. But at the same time, we want to make this a place where, hey, a destination point. It's 10 minutes from downtown, 10 minutes from the airport. Let's have a rec center and people say, hey, let's go see what this rec center is all about. But we can get a little taste of the history of what's happened within the community. We have the MLK Center, that was more on the national level. Let's see about what's happening with Atlanta. And how it's, and when we take it, in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, there was a time when the Klan used to meet right here, not necessarily the rec center, but right here in Oakland City. And there are residents who still live here who can say, there's one who's not here tonight, she was literally attacked by white residents who put their dogs out when they were walking to school. So on the way to school in the Bush Mountains, the black community that we also want to highlight, if this man saw a group of black kids walking to school, he put their dogs out. So she was literally bit by a dog walking to school in this community. So when you tell history, you tell the good and the bad. But what we want it to be is inclusion to represent everybody. So those are some of the things that we want to be able to represent within our rec center. And we want to come and get a taste of what is some of the real history of, having various points of highlighting some of that. And I've seen some people post on Facebook some of the older pictures of Oakland City, and we led the initiative to make it a historic district, or part of it is highlighting that. But within the area, we can also highlight Silver Hills, Capitol Hill, the others that are within them. I want to make it especially the 30310. And that's highlight that. Thank you.
And we talked about last time, it just reminded me, we need to set up a way to do this, but the national stuff, we have access to imagery-wise and otherwise. The things that are hyper-local
To the neighborhood and to the recreation center, people have these historic photos and things like that. We need to find a way to get those from you, and no promises of where they end up, but we need to find a creative way to incorporate some of this into the building activity. Mohammed and I will work on setting up a way to get that information.
As a recreation center, and there's many different demographics, socioeconomic, gender, ethnical. How about our children? We've got a major push in the area, reinvestment for 2040, school district restructuring. Yeah, we got an elementary school, we got a middle school, but we got a parent resource center right there that was empty 2 weeks ago, right? We have a lot of folk who feel like, the parents don't bring their kids, but we have an overwhelming amount of younger single parents that feel like they've been politically and spiritually abused, where they feel like their voice isn't heard for them to come out. Like when they come out, it's going to be more for optics. So if we're talking about, you know, what all long-term goals are, right? What 2030 is going to look like, what 2040 is going to look like, it's our children who have to inherit, like these incredible women are talking about, this legacy. So let's, as she said, prioritize something for them. That instead of saying they're not coming, that says, listen, we care about you so much that we are coming, because we do have an elementary school that's going to close in a year. We do have a bunch of kids that are inside of a lack of stability, that are looking for a safe space. And when we have this safe space, let's open the doors and make them feel welcome, so that we can keep our heritage and our history and our community intact. So let's prioritize them, because that it should represent them, their kids. They need recreation. Direction.
Thank you. Yeah. This is an important one. What does success look like for this project? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Okay, good. I think success for this project looks like there's been a lot of great ideas shared today. You know, there's been a lot of things that are good for recreation, and some things are just good for overall character building. I think success will look like a lot of, if not all of those things coming to fruition. I know some things are kind of out of our control, and it might be too far to reach, and I think that, you know, the people in this community know what they want. You know, the people who care about this rec center are here today, and they're sharing what they want. And I think that, you know, kind of seeing it come into fruition, seeing it actually happen, having a dialogue with the community and saying, hey, this is what you said you wanted, this is what we're doing to get it fixed, and it'll be done by now. So I think that's what success is.
So, because I don't want to misrepresent, if you had to use like 2 or 3 words to sum up what would success look like. Did I hear character development and ownership?
The character development is one of the words I use to describe some of the activities that were suggested. I think success, you want me to give 2 words?
I'm trying to distill it down a little bit.
Okay. Comprehension and completion.
Comprehension, completion of the project.
Yeah.
Okay.
Intergenerational fellowship that revitalizes and rebuilds our community from the ground up.
Intergenerational fellowship, revitalization.
That revitalize our community from the ground up, not from the top down to say this is what we're giving you, but to a younger generation that says, hey, listen, what do you want? To a middle generation that says, hey, listen, what do you want? To an older generation that say, hey, listen, what do you want? And a series of, it's a slow progression of where the ideal. That's success, right? That we manifest all these amazing ideas to represent the community and those inside of it when we're flourishing and interacting and building again.
You know, as I sit here and I think growing up, and I grew up in New York City, in a very diverse community, there were after-school programs. I remember my mother initially took us there for tutorial service, because I needed help with math. And that person became like a father figure to me, who was a Jewish guy. And he was there throughout my growing up and was a teacher. But in that same rec center, they have a camp. Every summer I went to camp for a month, upstate New York. At that same rec center, they had what I know is a stove today. We didn't know what it was then. But we did clay, we did pottery, we made, there was a little woodwork. I can remember making some wood, a little bookshelf or something. But there were activities after school that made us want to go. I made my first, I can remember building a bike from a frame. And I was, 8 or 9? And this was all in a community rec center as an adult. went there some years ago for a play. And I went in, I said, wait a minute, this was the rec center I grew up in. And all those different programs and that they had helped make a difference in my life with exposure and diversity. And, you know, with the camp, the after-school programs, that's what I would like to see us be able to provide in this community with this person.
Were you here? Because people in the community say that used to be here. I don't know who he was, but there was some individual that was here. He was after school. He did homework. The parents loved him. The kids loved him. And apparently this community center used to be like superly thriving, doing everything that you talk about doing. And they miss him.
I've been here 45 years, that was before my time.
Okay.
My son, I was pregnant with my first son, who's 45, when we moved into this community. When my children came over here as young, 8, 9, 10, somebody pointed a gun and took their bike. They never came back. So it was not the rec center that my kids came to anymore, okay? So, but I would like to see it be that center for other youth of today. Now, those who, I know some people who grew up, like the one I said got bit by the dog. She's 72, 73. She learned how to swim, and she's a lifeguard today. She learned how to swim when we had the Olympic-sized pool. So she can tell you that some of those who grew up here in the 60s, they can tell you those experiences. That's not mine.
They're trying. Like Coach Brown, who has the independent football team, he makes it a safe space. There's a bunch of community men who come out when the football team's out, so there's no violence. It's just connecting that bridge.
So I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention, and it's raining outside, and there are kids out there playing football right now.
Yeah, my boys.
Right here.
Yeah. We in the cleats and not the streets. We out here. Yo! Hold on. Get my cleats. We in the friggin' cleats and not the streets. I'm in the building having a meeting with the politicians. They talk about it's some boys outside in the rain right now. You mean them can't be yellow jackets? You mean them boys and them incredible men? What's up, young champions? That's out here in the rain putting work in? Yeah, that's what Coach Brown does. That's what real men do. So what? It's raining. We outside in the rain. That's what it takes to build character. That's what it takes to build discipline. I apologize for being in the building, having a meeting. Peace, Kings. Hey, they having a meeting in there. I just wanted to come through. They like they outside in the rain. Yeah, we outside in the rain. Open the door. Talking about, yeah, that's them right there, the Yellow Jackets. Talking about we playing football. We playing football. We're teaching manhood. Teaching what it takes to grow up out here. And everybody in the building talking about it don't take place. It take place in the rain. It's what we do. We in the cleats. We're not in the streets. Right now, I'm going back in the building. See what they talking about? Community, community, community. That's what we do. Had to step out, put my cleats on. I had to rush to the meeting, and we ended up being a little bit late. Never think, oh, I'm gonna be in there with them pretty shoes on, and my boys gonna be on the field, and I not be in the cleats. What we talking about? We in the cleats, and not in the streets. Sheesh. Thank you for that. I didn't know. We came in here first at 6 o'clock.